Welcome back. On today's show, Playing Dumb, we've been discussing why women pretend to be less intelligent than they are.
Well, joining us in the studio is psychotherapist Melanie Brown. Welcome Melanie.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So Melanie, we wanted to ask you this question. From your experience, why do you think women shy away from their intelligence?
Well, I think there can be two reasons. First reason is when we first meet someone, sometimes, we don't want to show all our cards at the beginning. Sometimes it's best to observe what's going on and the situations and the people around us and how we can fit in. And we can learn from those kind of experiences the best kind of moves to make, especially in social situations.
Mm. So at what point do you then, you start to show, start to be comfortable and, start to express yourself and show your intelligence?
I think it depends on the situation and how you feel within the situation and within yourself. Yeah. And I think sometimes there can also be, as a form of protection, especially in relationships with other people. If we only meet people at a certain level, we only let them meet us at a certain level, then in a way we can kind of control the relationship, the depth and direction that the relationship goes in a way to try and protect ourselves from being hurt.
You mean, for example, when people just keep that relationship, for example, at work, it's more professional, so they can just limit themselves there. The person not going to get to know what they are going through in their personal lives and so on, so they can limit themselves.
Yeah, definitely in the workplace and also in relationships with, maybe friends or partners as well, because a lot of us have got, past experiences of bad relationships and we don't want to get hurt again, so it is a form of protection.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Why do men feel they need to be more intelligent than women?
I think that, like you were saying before, roles have reversed, a lot recently. And I think that in this Western society, patriarchal society, that previously men were, the hunter-gatherers. They went out to go and provide for their loved ones, their children, their families. But now, effectively, as women, we can hunt for ourselves. So for men, I think that sometimes they do try to choose a partner that may be less intellectual than themselves as a way of trying to combat feelings of maybe diminished masculinity.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting. And early in the show, we discussed playing dumb as a tactic to win trust and make people feel at ease, feel comfortable. And do you think that this is sensitivity or manipulation?
I think that's a good question, and I think it can be both. I think that as females, a lot of the time we're sensitive to others' needs, sometimes to the detriment of ourselves. And I think that in a lot of situations, sometimes we can learn to manipulate situations, like you said, like with partners or friends, maybe not playing, as intelligent as we are to try and get our own way. With men, they like to feel strong, they like to feel needed, it strokes their ego, so sometimes we can pretend that we can't change the light bulb or, so they do it for us, and in that way we can kind of be a bit manipulative. Yeah. But in the same way, sometimes in social situations, I think that it can be maybe a form of manipulation, because in a lot of situations, if you're not seen as being as intelligent as you are, sometimes you can avoid responsibility, maybe sometimes at work.
That's true.
And then maybe people don't see you as a threat. People don't perceive you as being threatening, so you can kind of slip under the radar, hear things. People see you as more trustworthy, as you were speaking about before, and reveal information that maybe you could manipulate and use to your advantage later in the game.
Oh. Wow. I've got a question for you. Do you think playing dumb is a symptom of self-esteem or an inferiority complex?
I think it can be a symptom of low self-esteem in relationships, definitely. I think that a big part of society now is that, we live in a social world, we want to be accepted by other people. And I've noticed that a lot of women, especially in relationships, are not as assertive as they would be in maybe in the workplace. They're more submissive, They seem to sometimes have quite low self-esteem. They want to fit into the mould of who the man wants them to be, like to be the perfect woman. And a lot of the time, they'll shy away from their intelligence just to try and make him feel more comfortable in the relationship.
Yeah, you were talking about this. I remember a movie I watched where the woman knew her husband was betraying her, but she would pretend that she didn't know anything, playing dumb, because she didn't want to lose that environment, have a family and have him. So although inside she knew she was not happy, but she preferred to play dumb and believe that, okay, you were saying the truth, that's fine, you were going to work until late, okay, because she didn't want to lose that, let's say, that family, the marriage she had. So I believe that it's true, it has a lot to do with self-esteem as well.
Yeah. It can be, well, there was a situation actually that happened not long ago. I don't know if the lady was probably playing. It can work in relationships in a bad way as well. I don't know if you agree, because there is a lady. Her husband was clearly not right. He was very abusive, verbally, physically, etc. And I think she just played dumb to the situation, and she just acted as though it just was not happening. But she lost her life. Actually, he killed her to death, and he's someone that. She got the warnings and everything, but it can have its effects, isn't it? It's bad effects as well. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and I think that building up our self-esteem is very important as a way to try and combating that.
So how do you think then gender stereotypes evolve, and what can schools, parents, society in general prevent them?
Well, like we spoke about, I think that over the last definitely 50 years that there's been a big role reversal. Women don't necessarily now have one role. We have dual roles, working, mothers, we have a lot of different hats that we have to wear. And I think it's really empowering to see that recently there's so many female-run businesses and companies, support groups for women working together, to try and push femininity forward and make it something, a positive force. And I think that it's really important for us to realise and to move forward in the future that even though playing dumb can be, a tactic that we can use sometimes, I think that in the future it would be great if, we had a world where like all genders, male, female, transgender can all play by the same rules, and there's no, subjugation of any kind of gender for ourselves or for anyone else. I think that, as parents, there's a big role to play to try and affirm your child, give them self-confidence and positivity so that they learn to value the voices and perspectives of other people, so that we can live in a world where you can be yourself and it is okay to be yourself, and there's not people that are trying to make themselves look or feel better about themselves by diminishing the intelligence of someone else.
So you believe that, for example, those who are watching us, they should analyze themselves and see in their lives how often they have been doing that, because sometimes we can see that it can play the good side in our lives, like putting ourselves in other people's shoes and so on, but it can also come in a negative way. So would you think that people should analyze themselves and see where they are, so then they can take maybe decide to change or improve themselves?
Yeah, I think that self-reflection is always important, to understand why you do things and what you can do in the future. Maybe if something wasn't so beneficial in the past, maybe to see if you made a change and what could be different in the future.
That's true. Thank you so much for coming, for answering all our questions. We were kind of bombarding her with all our questions and thoughts and so on. But, in this program, we speak a lot about the inner change. So these topics, we can see that it's not really for the person not to relate to what's going on outside, not to focus on what's going on outside, but I believe also to focus on their inner self, isn't it? That's where the true change will start.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you. Well, we are going to take a short break, but don't go away, as there will be more discussion on playing dumb after the break.